Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So in today's video I'm going to be making another hat, another gorro. I am, as I said in the last video, trying to finally catch up and make some matching hats for a few of the scarf tutorials that I've made, and you guys know that I've made quite a few scarf tutorials on this channel. I always get a lot of you guys that ask, is there a matching hat? To which I normally have to respond, no, sorry. So I'm trying to change that. Things you will need for this hat is some yarn. I'll leave a link to this if you like this colorway in the description box, so check that out. This is a medium 4 yarn. It calls for size H, 5mm US crochet hook, which is what I'm going to be using. Use whatever suggested hook size your yarn calls for. I'm going to need a pair of scissors a little bit later, a darning weave and tapestry needle, some stitch markers, and a tape measure. Alright. This yarn, the skein, by the way, is 5 ounces, 141 grams, 240 yards, or 219 meters. Let's start. So we're going to start out with the magic circle. If you feel a little hesitant about doing that, check out the link, okay? But you're going to take your yarn and then wrap it around your finger, creating an X. Then we're going to move our thumb over the center of the X, and we're going to continue to pull this around these two fingers, trapping it between the second and third, like that. Now we're going to take our crochet hook, we're going to go under the first one, and then over the second one, hooking it on, and we're going to pull that through like that. Now we're going to take this thumb and this finger, grab that, and then we're going to gently slide these two fingers out. Alright, and now we're going to chain one. So yarn over and chain one, and that secures it. Now we're going to pull on this tail just to close the magic circle up a little bit. And in this circle, in this ring, we're going to make 8 half double crochets. So yarn over, enter the ring, yarn over, pull through to the front. You're going to have 3 loops. Yarn over, go through all 3. 1, 2, 3. That's your first half double crochet. We're going to grab a stitch marker. We're going to put that at the top of it, top of the stitch. And you're going to make 7 more. I'll show you one more time. Yarn over, enter the ring, yarn over, pull through to the front for 3 loops again, yarn over, go through all 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, make your 8 and I'll meet you at the stitch marker. I have one more to make. You're going to notice that you're going to be crocheting over the ring and this tail, okay? That's exactly what you should be doing. And this is my number 8. Now I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to pull it to close up the ring. And that's going to bring my 8th half double crochet to my first one, which is marked with the stitch marker. Now I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the cake. I'm going to go through that first half double crochet and slip stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull all the way through. Now I'm going to chain 1, and the pattern for round 2, which is what we're currently on, is 2. That means that we're going to put 2 half double crochet in every stitch. We're going to start out with the marked first half double crochet. Remember I told you that chain 1, or if I didn't, that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we need to put 2 stitches in there. So yarn over, slice the icing off the top of the cake, going right back in there where we slip stitched, and make a half double crochet. That's 1. And then go back in there one more time and make a second half double crochet. That's 2. Now we're going to take out this stitch marker and we're going to put it in the very first half double crochet that we made for round 2, right after that chain 1. So it's right there. We always want to know what the first stitch of the round is so we know when to stop. Alright, and then the next stitch and every stitch thereafter, actually, we'll get 2 half double crochet. So 1, back in there for 2. You should have a total of 16 stitches once you get all the way back around to the stitch marker. I will meet you there. I am back around. I have a total of 16 half double crochet, and it looks like this is a stitch, but it's not. but because I was counting, I know that it's not, so I know to skip it. I'm going to go right to where the stitch marker is, and the top of that, half double crochet, slicing the icing off the top of the cake, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull all the way through. I'm going to chain 1. In the first stitch, in the same place where I just slip stitch, I'm going to go in there and put a half double crochet. Okay, I'm going to take out the stitch marker. I'm going to put it on that first stitch. You always put it on the first stitch of the round. So the pattern for round 3, which is what we're currently on, is 1, 2. That means the first stitch gets 1, the second stitch gets 2 stitches. Well, I already put 1 stitch in the first stitch, so now it's time to move to the second stitch, which is right here, and put 2 in there. So I'll put 2 half double crochets in there. That's 1, back in there for 2. The next stitch, which is there, gets 1 half double crochet, and the one thereafter will get 2 half double crochet, back in there for 2. When you complete this round, you should have a total of 24 stitches. Okay, I'll meet you back at the stitch marker. I now have my 24 stitches. I'm back around. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first half double crochet of the round, yarn over, pull all the way through, chain 1. I'll start by putting the first half double crochet right in there where I slip stitch, right in that stitch that's marked by the stitch marker. So just go in there and make your first half double crochet, and then transfer the stitch marker to that stitch that you just made. Alright, the pattern for round 4 is 1, 1, 2. So you notice round 3 it was 1, 2, round 2 it was 2, and round 1 it was 1. Okay, so you're always just adding a 1. This is the last round that I'm going to demonstrate for this section of the hat. So I set the pattern for this round. Round 4 is 1, 1, 2. So the first stitch gets 1, the second stitch gets 1, and then the third stitch will get 2. Back in there for 2. Alright, I'm going to do it again. The first stitch gets 1. The next stitch, which is 2, gets 1, and then the third stitch over gets 2, back in there for 2. Okay, so 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. I'll meet you at the stitch marker, you guys. So I'm back around. I'm going to, as usual, slip stitch into the first half double crochet. It's marked by the stitch marker. Chain 1. I'm going to put my first half double crochet the same place where I slip stitch on that first stitch that's marked by the stitch marker. I'm going to transfer the stitch marker to that newly created half double crochet of round 5, and then the next pattern will be 3 1s and a 2. Okay, so if you ever want to know how many stitches a round should have during these initial increase rounds, then multiply the round number by 8. The round that we just completed, round 4, should have a total of 32 stitches. So it was round number 4 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. You will be starting now round 5. So 5 times 8 is 40. So that means round 5 should have a total of 40 stitches, so on and so forth. I'll leave the remaining patterns, okay? You want to make it so that your circle is large enough to fit the crown of the head of the person that you're making it for. I'll check back in once I get to my desired diameter for the head of the person that I'm making it for. See you there. Alright, so I have completed my 8th round. My 8th round, of course, has a total of 64 stitches, and I've now reached a diameter of a little bit less than 6.25 inches, approximately about 16 centimeters, a little bit less. Okay, so this diameter is sufficient. Okay, it fits on the crown of the head of the person that it's being made for. So now, to start my round 9, I am going to begin it as I begin every other round. I'm going to slip stitch into the very first stitch. It's marked by the stitch marker. And this time I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2. Alright, so we're done with increase rounds. Now we're just going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch around for this round. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go right in there where I slip stitched. That first stitch, slicing the icing off the top of the cake. I'm going to yarn over, pull through to the front for 3 loops. I'm going to yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. And I'm going to yarn over and go through the remaining 2, 1, 2. I'm going to transfer the stitch marker to the double crochet. And then, as I said, this is no longer an increase round, so we're just going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch around, slicing the icing off the top of the cake. Slice the icing off the top of the cake. I'll meet you at the stitch marker. So I've made my way back around. You're noticing it's starting to cup, and that is because we're no longer increasing. Before we add too much depth to this cap, let's deal with this magic circle. So the magic of the magic circle is that when we pull on this tail, it closes the gap, the hole. So pull it till you can't anymore, and then let's just weave in this tail right now, and then we won't have to worry about it at the end of the project. So just feed your yarn through the darning weaving tapestry needle and just go through some of those initial half double crochets. Okay, I like to kind of go about the circle, about the hole, weaving through around it 2 or 3 times just to make sure it doesn't loosen up and open the hole again. Okay, and that's it. And then you can cut this tail down. Alrighty, now that we've done that, so this round was just a round of double crochet. I'm still maintaining a total of 64 stitches because it wasn't an increase round. So I'm going to slip stitch into the very first double crochet marked by the stitch marker. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to take out the stitch marker, and here we go. Now, you guys, this chain 2 will count as a stitch. Okay, so the chain 2 will count for that double crochet right there. That's the first double crochet. That chain 2 counts for that. We are going to skip the next stitch and put a double crochet in the one thereafter. So yarn over, skip this one, go into the one thereafter, and make a double crochet. Alright, now we're going to skip the next stitch and put a double crochet in the one thereafter. So skip that one and put a double crochet in the one thereafter there. And this is what we have. We have this chain 2, which counts as a stitch. We have a skipped stitch, and then we put a double crochet in the next one. Then we skip another stitch and put a double crochet in the one thereafter. Now we're going to crisscross and go back to this stitch. Okay, so in there we're going to put a double crochet, yarn over, slice the icing off the top of the cake. That's what it looks like on that side. Then we yarn over, pull through to the front. You're going to have 3 loops like with any other double crochet. Yarn over, go through 2, and then yarn over, go through 2. Alright, that's one skip stitch that we've taken care of. Now it's time to go back and take care of this one right here. For that, since we're so far away, you guys, we need a treble crochet, a taller stitch. So we're going to yarn over twice, 1, 2, and we're going to go from the back this time. So we're going to bring our hook all the way to the back like that. This is what it looks like to the back. Okay, so all the way to the back, we're going to come forward and slice the icing off top of the cake like that. Now we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then as with any other treble crochet, we're going to have to yarn over now, go through 2, 3 times. So yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2, yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2, and then yarn over, go through 2, 1, 2. Alright, and this is what we have. I know it looks a little crazy right now, and I know some of you might be a little confused with that treble crochet coming from the back, but don't worry, you'll get it. Let me do it again. So now we start the pattern over again. We worked in this stitch, so this is the next stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch and we're going to put a double crochet in the one thereafter, that one. So yarn over to prepare for the double crochet, skip that one, go into the one thereafter and make a double crochet. Now prepare to make another double crochet, yarn over, skip the next one, and go into the one thereafter and make your double crochet. So you're always going to have a skip stitch, double crochet, skip stitch, double crochet. Now we start filling in those skip stitches, starting with the closest one. So we do the crisscross, so the one that we just skipped, slicing the icing off the top of the cake, yarning over, pulling through to the front for 3 loops, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and then here's that tricky one. Not impossible to get, but it's a little tricky. It's trickier for me to try to show you guys what to do on camera, so I'm going to try. Remember, it has to be a treble crochet because it's so far away, so yarn over twice, 1, 2, direct your crochet hook, and you want to keep it taut, okay, so you don't lose your yarn as you're moving your hook back. So I'm just moving it back, and then I'm kind of bringing my hook forward to go from the front to slice the icing off the top of the cake. Slice the icing off the top of the cake like that, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, go through 2, that's 1, go through 2, that's 2, go through 2, that's 3. And now we do it again. Always pay attention to the last stitch that you crocheted into so that you don't accidentally crochet into it again. You see that's hugging on to that top, so we know that one's done. Here's the next one. We're going to skip, put the double crochet in here. Then we're going to skip the next one and put the double crochet into the one thereafter. So yarn over, skip, go into the one thereafter. Okay, yarn over, skip, go into the one thereafter. Now go back to the first one, to the second one you skipped, and make your crisscross double crochet. And then we have to go to the very first one that we skipped, which is there. Put that in there for now. So I'm going to yarn over twice from the back, bring your hook kind of out to the front, and then slice the icing off the top of the cake. Okay, so you'll have 3 loops, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll have the top of the stitch, the skip stitch, the first skip stitch, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through. And now we're going to have 4 loops on our crochet hook. I can take the stitch marker out now. I'm going to yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2, and yarn over, go through 2. Okay, and this is the pattern that it's making. Okay, so continue in that fashion. I'll meet you once I get back around here. And by the way, I didn't do it, but you can always put the stitch marker into that second chain up of that chain too, because we're gonna need to, that's technically now the first stitch of the round now that it is counting as a stitch. Okay, so I'll meet you once we get closer to that stitch marker. See you there. Alright, so I am almost back at the stitch marker. This is the last stitch that I used, and that means I have 3 more remaining. Now you might be thinking, okay, this pattern, it seems like it works in multiples of 4. If I have 64 total stitches, then why am I only left with 3? Like, I should have 4 stitches left so that I can do the pattern one more time. But you have to remember that we used this chain 2 at the beginning of that round, and that took 1 stitch away from 64. So we're left with 3 instead of 4. If you don't have 4 stitches left, I'll say, okay, then you should do this. So yarn over, skip the next stitch, go on to the one thereafter and make a double crochet, and then do the crisscross. Go back to the one we skipped to make your cross double. That's going to leave us with 1, and then we're just going to put a regular double crochet in that slicing icing off the top of the cake. Alright, now we are going to slip stitch into the second chain up, 1, 2, like that. And we're going to chain 2 again. 1, 2. Remember that chain 2 does count as a stitch now. So we're going to transfer the stitch marker to the top chain. And now this round is just going to be a round of regular double crochets. Okay, so we're going to have 64 stitches, maintaining that same number. Okay, so here is the next stitch right there. This is the top chain of that chain 2, and we already did the 2 chains, and this right here is the next stitch, so that's where the double crochet will go. So put that back in there, yarn over, slice the icing off top of the cake, make the double crochet. This is easy. Okay, then just find the next stitch. It's there. Then the next stitch is there. And remember, the treble crochet was the last one in that grouping. It's right there. Alright. And then the next 4. Here's the next stitch. Double crochet. The next one right next to it. 3. And then 4. Okay. So that's easy enough. Alright. So just put 1 double crochet into every stitch around and maintain the same number of stitches. From you, that is 64. After this round, you are going to go back to that pattern that we were doing, where you skip 1 double crochet, skip 1 double crochet, do the crisscross in the second skipped one, and then do a treble crochet from the back in the first skipped one, the pattern that we just did. And you're going to alternate for the next several rounds between the regular double crochet round and the round with that intricate pattern. Okay, and then go back to the regular double crochet round, which I'm doing, and then my next round will be the round with the intricate pattern. Okay, I'll check back in and let you know how many rounds I have. Alright, I'm anticipating about 7 rounds starting with this first regular double crochet round. See you in a bit. Alright, you guys, so I completed my 7 rounds, first starting with the round of double crochet, and then that crisscross, and then going from the back double crochet round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, you want to end on the round of regular double crochet. You can make yours deeper or longer if you want. This is sufficient for me because I want to add my ribbing next. Okay, my brim. So this is about 6.5 inches deep, and that's about approximately 16.5 centimeters. All right, so let's move on to the ribbing now. All right, so as was my practice these past 6 or 7 rounds, I did slip stitch into the second chain up of that chain 2. All right, so now you have to decide however long you want your ribbing to be. So I suggest crocheting an odd number, because we're going to crochet into the second chain from the hook, which is going to leave us with an even number. So for example, if we crochet 15 chains, then once we put our first single crochet into the second chain from the hook, we will have a total of 14 single crochets. And the reason I think an even number ultimately is good to have is because we're going to fold it in half. You don't have to start with an odd number if you don't want, but that's just kind of my thinking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, I think I'm gonna go a little bit thicker. Okay, because I've never gone thicker than this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, and as I told you, I'm going to put my first single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So here's the hook, first chain, second chain. That's where I'm going to put my single crochet. So I'm going to skip the first one, go into the second one, and then yarn over, pull through to the front for 2 loops, yarn over, and go through 2. And now I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in every chain all the way back down to the rim. I'll meet you there. 15 and 16. Now I'm going to take out this stitch marker. Notice where it is. Remember, this stitch marker is in that second chain up of that chain 2. Alright, so I'm going to put the stitch marker on the front loop of that single crochet. Now, anytime we crochet single crochets coming back down to the rim of the hat, this is what you're going to do. You're going to make sure you don't crochet into the same stitch that you came out of. We came out of the second chain up, that chain right, to start this. And we're making our way down. So now you want to put a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So this one will get a slip stitch because that's the next stitch, and then the one thereafter will also get a slip stitch because I said the next 2. So I'm going to slice the icing off the top of the cake of that double crochet and slip stitch, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the next one. And now I'm going to chain 1. This stitch marker is very important because it can be confusing. You'll see what's confusing. So turn your work. This is what's confusing. When it's time to start your single crochet, your line of single crochet again, that row of single crochet, you might be confused because you see these 2 tops. You might think one of those are the single crochets, but they're not. Those 2 tops correspond to the 2 slip stitches that we made. But one easy way to immediately eliminate the confusion is to put a stitch marker on that final single crochet, and then to just go right in there and put a single crochet. By the way, from here on out, when we crochet into these single crochets, we're only crocheting into the back loop. That's how we get the ribbing effect. So the stitch marker is right in that back loop from this perspective, so it's perfect. I just hook on where the stitch marker is hooked on, pull through, and then I make my single crochet. Before moving on, I take that stitch marker out and I put it on the newly created single crochet there. And then I'll know what my final single crochet is when I come back down. And then I just continue putting 1 single crochet in the back loop of all the other single crochets until I get to the end. I will meet you there. I wanted to meet you once we got to this final single crochet because it can be hard to see. It can be easy to miss, and that's why I always suggest giving yourself what I call the aerial view so you can see the top of the stitch. And I can clearly see the whole top there, and I can clearly go into the back loop and make that final single crochet. If you miss that single crochet, you're gonna accidentally decrease, okay? And your ribbing is gonna get narrower, so please don't miss it. Count your stitches. I have 16, so I make sure I'm maintaining 16 stitches. Chain 1, and right in that last single crochet that we made, the last stitch where that chain 1 is coming out of, we're going to put a single crochet. However, we're going to put it in that back loop, remember, because we're only crocheting into the back loop now of the single crochet. So I turn my work, and then right there I just go right into that back loop, pull through, and make my single crochet like that. And then I make my way back down. 1 single crochet in the back loop of every single crochet all the way down. I will meet you once I get back to the rim. So I'm at my final single crochet. How do I know that? Because there's a stitch marker, and I put my single crochet in that back loop. I immediately transfer the stitch marker now to this newly created single crochet. And once again, when I get back down to the rim of the hat, I always ask myself, what's the last stitch I worked in? Well, I see there's stuff going on in there, so that's the last stitch I worked in. So I don't mess with that. It's already taken care of. It's done. Stick a fork in it, is done. Alright, so remember when you get back down to the rim, you slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. So here's the next stitch, the first unused one, first untouched one. And then here's the second one, okay? So we go into those and we put a slip stitch. Pull all the way through, that's 1. And then the next one is there, slicing the icing off the top of the cake and pulling all the way through. Chain 1, turn our work. And immediately we know exactly where to go. We don't have to worry about these other ambiguous tops. We just go right where the stitch marker is and put our single crochet in the back loop. And once again, transfer that stitch marker. So these stitch markers are really helpful, you guys. All right, so you're going to continue doing that, going up and down, all the way around the hat. And once you get back around, you should be left with either 1 or 2 stitches down here. For me, it's always been 1, but if you make a mistake, maybe you'll have 2 left, okay? So if you end with 2, just stop there and I'll tell you what to do. All right, see you in a bit. So I have made it all the way back around. I'm on my final descent. And I notice, as you guys should as well, that I have 1 more stitch to crochet into. That one right there, okay? So I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of that stitch. If you have 2, it's okay, just slip stitch into the next 2 like you've been doing all along, okay? Taking the stitch marker out, we don't need it anymore because we're not going back up. So I slip stitch into this final single crochet, or to the final double crochet. All right, so surprise, surprise once again. Right now we're looking at the inside of the hat. The beauty of this hat, the magic, the true pattern is actually on the other side. So I'm going to turn it inside out like this. All right. And this is what I'm going for. All right, so now I'm going to make my loop small again. So I'll insert my crochet hook, pull. And now I'm going to connect the sides. I'm going to connect this side with this side. This side is the row of single crochet, and then those loops that you see on the top, those are the chain stitches that we crochet the single crochet stitches into. And this is our recently completed, our final row of single crochet with the tops, okay? We're going to crochet into the front loop of these tops, and we're going to go into the loop of the chain, and we're just going to slip stitch all the way down, okay? So find your first single crochet and crochet into the front loop. Remember, this is the complete top. Okay, that's the complete top. This right here is the front loop, and that right there is the back loop. We only want the front loop. So I'm gonna take that out, go into the front loop only. So I'm kind of splitting the top. And then I'm going to find the corresponding single crochet over here and that loop. So here's the single crochet. We crocheted into that chain, that's the loop, so that's where I'm going to insert my crochet hook into there, like that. Your yarn should be to the back, and then we're just going to yarn over and slip stitch, pulling all the way through. Now you want to line these up. If you line them up, that will prevent you from skipping stitches or not crocheting, the corresponding stitches together. And it's just easier if you line them up because you get to go exactly, it's telling you because they're lined up exactly where you need to insert your crochet hook because they're right across from each other. So just make sure you line them up and you just work your way across like that, pulling all the way through. Front loop, chain, front loop, chain, front loop, chain. Front loop, loop of the chain. Okay. Front loop, loop of the chain. And then this last one, this is that final single crochet that's usually kind of hard to get to. Just go in there, get your front loop, and then find the corresponding loop of the chain on the other side. You guys, it doesn't have to be exact. Just get in where you can get in and connect them, okay? All right, now I'm going to chain one, Gonna leave a little bit of a tail, fasten off, and now I'm gonna weave in this tail. So I'm gonna grab my darning weaving tapestry needle. Alright, and then I'm just gonna go through some stitches up, and I don't need to go back down. This is pretty secure, so I'm just gonna go up through some stitches like that. We'll go a little bit higher, and then I'm gonna cut and leave a little bit of a tail, because that will serve as my tag to always tell me where the back of my hat is. Alright, for those of you that are interested in the depth of this hat in inches, it is about 11 inches, okay, so about 28 centimeters. Alright, so as I said, this is the back. And so now I'm going to roll this up like that. So you have this nice, beautiful ribbing, and then you have this beautiful pattern that people will be in awe when they see it, especially crocheters. They're going to wonder, how in the world did you get that design? Okay. So yeah, this is what I was going for. It's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. And for those of you who may not remember or may not have crocheted this scarf, this hat was made to accompany this scarf. Once again, of course, you will be doing them in the same colorway, but yeah, this hat was made with this scarf in mind. And if you want to see more matching hat and scarf tutorials, check out this playlist.